On April 30th, 1945, Eva Braun swallowed cyanide beside Adolf Hitler in the bunker beneath Berlin. She had been his hidden companion. Given her role as the hidden companion to the dictator, the natural assumption is that her family met a similar fate, that they hunted them down, that they imprisoned them, or marched to a firing squad. But every single member of Eva Braun's immediate family survived the war. Her mother, her father, and both of her sisters lived for decades afterward. How does a bloodline connected to the inner circle of the Nazi regime manage to simply walk away and vanish into the background? The truth is, the Allies didn't deliver their retribution. The Brauns survived the collapse of the empire, but their real punishment was entirely self-inflicted. When American counterintelligence teams swept through the rubble of the Reich Chancellery and the Bavarian Alps in the spring of 1945, they detained anyone connected to Hitler's world. They weren't looking to prosecute the Braun family for war crimes. They wanted witnesses, people who could confirm the details of Hitler's private life and piece together his final days. Looking at this massive panoramic window inside the Berghof, you can see the lavish environment the family used as their defense. Eva's mother, Franziska, and her sister, Gretel, insisted to interrogators that they knew nothing of politics and that their visits here were purely social. The post-war denazification tribunals processed individuals per a strict hierarchy of guilt, ranking them from major offenders at the top down through lesser degrees of complicity. The tribunal confiscated the money Eva had sent home, but legally classified the Brauns as Mitläufer, followers. This was the lowest possible category. They were processed and allowed to walk free. They had successfully cleared a courtroom, but a legal pardon doesn't clear a conscience. Their exoneration on paper marked the beginning of a life spent in hiding. Other surviving families of high-ranking officials took public stances. Emmy Goring wrote an autobiography defending her husband. The Brauns chose a path of absolute erasure. The eldest sister, Ilse, moved to Munich and lived under her married name. She claimed she and Eva had once tried to protect her pre-war employer, a Jewish physician, a story that functioned as a shield against her family's legacy. This is Hermann Fegelein, an SS general and Gretel Braun's first husband, executed on Hitler's orders just days before the suicide pact. To distance herself from this proximity, Gretel married a quiet engineer in 1954, took his name, and vanished into a life as a seamstress and shop assistant. Together, the surviving family members enforced a code of silence. They refused to speak Eva's name, hung up the phone on reporters, slammed doors on historians, and offered no defense. But the past lived inside them. Behind closed doors, Gretel suffered from recurring night terrors, waking in the dark screaming for her dead sister. Her parents, Fritz and Franziska, withdrew to a farmhouse in the Alps, but the stress of their new reality took its toll. Fritz died in 1964. Franziska eventually moved to this small apartment in Munich, sharing a bathroom with 3 other families. She kept her heavy curtains drawn all day and stood frozen in silence whenever the doorbell rang. Their strategy worked to keep them out of the public eye, but it trapped them inside a psychological prison of paranoia. On May 5, 1945, looking out at a country reduced to this ruin, a widowed Gretel gave birth. She named her daughter Eva Barbara, after the sister who had just died in the bunker. The child entered the world carrying a name that connected her to the very center of the fallen regime. Even though she took her stepfather's surname to hide, she later told friends that carrying her namesake felt like wearing a mark that never fades. She tried to build a quiet life on an unstable foundation, but in 1971, overwhelmed by personal grief, 26-year-old Eva Barbara took her own life. With her death, the direct bloodline of Eva Braun ended forever. Today, few Germans can even name Eva Braun's siblings. The family faded into public obscurity, absorbed into the anonymous mass of post-war Bavaria. A father dead of stress, a mother spending her final years terrified of her own doorbell, a sister plagued by night terrors, and a niece dead by suicide. The Brauns survived the fall of the Third Reich, but their story asks a final question.